Hey guys, it's Rich Boy J here, back with another video, and this is going to be episode 16 of Your Questions Answered. If you're not familiar with it, Your Questions Answered is a Q&A series that I do on this channel. If you want your question to be answered in this series, go ahead, leave your comment in the comment section. Make sure it's Lego, Star Wars, or Lego Star Wars related, and then check back next week to see if you made the cut. As you guys noticed, there was no intro this week. That is very unfortunate. I've only had 2 people send me intros, and that was were the first 2 intros that I showed, so I'm going to keep pushing it, guys. Please submit your intros. I would definitely love to show off some of your creative sides on this channel. You of course get a little exposure by being at the front of the video, and I think it's just a fun thing to do overall. So don't be afraid. It doesn't have to be anything amazing. As you can tell, there wasn't a ton of editing or anything that went into either intro that we had so far, but I thought they both were very cool in their own respects. So with that being said, let's move on to the first question. It's by MAC Bricks. He says, if you don't buy sets too often, where do you get your minifigures? So I think in the last video, or the video before last actually, I mentioned that I don't buy sets too often, and I think this is kind of just me misspeaking. I buy a lot of sets, but I think the thing about it is typically when a wave comes out, I buy like all the sets on day one. So to me, it feels like I don't buy sets often because I'm always just buying every set whenever the wave initially comes out, which means that I'm waiting a longer period of time between when the next wave comes out, and to me it just feels like, oh, I haven't bought a set in such a long time. But I typically buy every set that comes out for the past maybe 2 or 3 years since The Force Awakens has been released, just to kind of keep up with the minifigures, especially for the new movies, since those are pretty much guaranteeing that the figures are going to be brand new. So I just get all my minifigures from the sets, and then if it's an old thing, then I'll get it from either eBay or Bricklink. But those are the 2 sources. Hopefully that clears up maybe some of the confusion from the last video. Next question is going to be by Prison Mike. He says, hey, if you could create a custom Lego minifigure, print your own designs, new molds, etc., who or what would it be? Better be Prison Mike, my guy. I would love to have a Prison Mike minifigure, but the Star Wars side of me has 2 things that immediately comes to mind. The first one is Darth Nihilus. If you don't know who that is, he is one of the main villains in Knights of the Old Republic 2. He is such a cool looking Sith. He has a unique skull looking mask. I think he's originally based on the one character, I think from One Piece? Am I right about that? Hold on, I'm gonna look that up right now. No, he's based on the character No Face. I don't know how I got that and One Piece mixed up. But yeah, Darth Nihilus is, I think, originally based on the character No Face. And I think he's just such an awesome looking Sith. He's very, very dark looking, and the skull kind of mask that he wears just looks very intimidating. The fact that he doesn't really speak English, but instead kind of like speaks and growls is pretty cool as well. And the fact that he literally eats worlds is kind of ridiculous. But I would love to see him in a minifigure form, especially since we got the Darth Revan polybag. It's honestly been a really long time since we've gotten any sort of polybag for May the 4th, so it'd be nice to see them kind of continue with that trend sometime down the line. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Come on, Lego, please do it. But yeah, Darth Nihilus would be up there. And then the other one that honestly came to mind is Idrio Two-Tubes from Rogue One. He's kind of a background character, but he's part of Saw's gang, and I think that he is just an awesome looking character design. We also see him, I don't know if it's actually him, it may be Benthic Two-Tubes, who pops up in the Solo movie. I'm sure someone in the comments will correct me on that as to who exactly that guy in the movie is. But either way, that guy, he's the same species, and it would just be great to have a figure of him. I think he's honestly one of the coolest character designs that we've had from any of the new movies in the Disney era. So I would certainly love to have either him or Darth Nihilus. Those are my 2 picks. Next question comes from CJ Toys. He says, which is worse, Jar Jar Binks or Rose? The fact that you'd even ask this question kind of makes me sad. Jar Jar Binks is infinitely worse than Rose. Let's not get it twisted, guys. Even though you might not agree with where they took the character of Rose and the cringy kiss scene, and maybe you think Rose is annoying, no character in Star Wars will ever come close to Jar Jar. Jar Jar is just downright offensive. Like, what are you even doing? Like, Rose at least has like a purpose in the story. She's kind of meant to kind of like fuel Finn's arc and get him to kind of recognize that he can be a part of something greater and not just keep running away from his problems. So Rose at least has a purpose in the film, whereas Jar Jar is literally just there to irritate everyone. So definitely Jar Jar. no competition. Let's not kid ourselves, guys. Next question is by Zandy Boy. He says, do you think the events in Star Wars Resistance will have some significance in episode 9? That's a great question. I think that I'll say yes. I think that something will certainly happen in it. Maybe a character will pop up that will be linked to 9, or something will be mentioned. It won't be anything significant, I don't think, which I guess kind of like goes against your question, because you're saying if it has some sort of significance. So I don't think anything significant will kind of relate to each other between those between that movie and the show. But I do think there will be some sort of connection made. It may honestly just be something that's kind of like retroactively done, like Resistance elaborates on something that we kind of knew but maybe didn't know as much about, and then that kind of ties it back in to the new trilogy and maybe something we learned in episode 9. But I do certainly think that there will be some tie-in just to kind of reward the people who watch the Resistance show. I think that actually would be pretty cool. As to what that could be, I literally have no idea. We haven't even seen much of the show yet, but I think whenever we see the first few episodes, we'll probably get a good idea on maybe some of the connections that they're going to be making, and just, I guess, the scope of the show. Like, are we going to see more things going on in the galaxy at that point in time? Who knows? They may just stay on that planet, that spaceport that they're on, and then never learn anything else about the galaxy. Honestly, doubt that's the case, but it's really interesting. I'm very, very interested in this time period in Star Wars post Episode 6. I've been waiting for something like that, so I'm super excited for it. Next question is by BB Bricks. He says, what is your favorite Star Wars Legends ship? This is so easy. Definitely the Ebon Hawk. The Ebon Hawk is the main protagonist ship in KOTOR and KOTOR 2. It is very reminiscent of the Millennium Falcon. It probably is a Corellian ship. It looks like it. I have no doubt that it's a Corellian ship, but it's just a super cool design. Anyone who's played the game will have some sort of attachment to the ship, since it's the main ship that you fly around. It is essentially the Millennium Falcon of Knights of the Old Republic, so it would be really nice to have a big minifig scale version of that ship. I'm just tying this back to Lego. I always told myself, whenever I finish building my custom Falcon that's sitting like right there, over there, I would definitely want to build a Ebon Hawk minifig scale with a full interior. So that'll definitely happen one day. I'm just, right now it's just, I'm just kind of like preoccupied with other mocks, but I would love to have an Ebon Hawk. This is honestly a good question. It'll be interesting to see like what you guys, the extent of your knowledge of Legends and what you know and were interested in when it came to Legends. But yeah, what are your guys' favorite ships from Legends that maybe aren't necessarily canon anymore, or were introduced in Legends and became canon? Next question is by Stanley Chung. He says, we don't talk about the Clone Wars minifigures, sigh. Also, what are your thoughts about C-3PO and R2-D2? Do you think they will ever die? They have been in every movie if I remember correctly. So they missed one movie and it was Solo, and I was honestly quite surprised of it. Just because they figured out some way to squeeze them into Rogue One, I figured they're probably just going to keep up with the tradition and have them somehow, some way be in Solo. It was really surprising that they weren't, and honestly, I appreciate that. But moving forward, as whether or not they're going to die, I honestly would say no. I think R2-D2 has found his perfect utility as just kind of being sitting on the Falcon and helping out with whatever's going on. I think he has found his utility with just kind of being on the Falcon and then helping out with whatever's going on. I think that's honestly a nice place for him to kind of just live on as kind of part of the Falcon, the same way that L3 and a few other droids are also a part of the Falcon. As for C-3PO, I don't think there's one need to kill him either. They can just kind of have him, I don't know, maybe just be like a droid helping them out. They don't necessarily have to be with the main cast or like the main group of characters, but he can just be around in the Resistance. There's no need for them to get rid of him. The biggest thing for me is just, I don't think that there's going to be, I don't think that the like emotional impact you would get by killing off the droids would be good enough to justify doing it. Like when it came to Han Solo and Luke Skywalker even, those are characters that we kind of had grown and loved, so their death had purpose, it had meaning, it like served the story in some way, whereas killing the droids would just seem like you're doing it just to like get a shock value out of it, and I don't necessarily agree with that. So I'm going to err on the side of no, they're probably not ever going to like have an on-screen death. Yeah, that's what I got to say about that. So there isn't a 7th question, but I did want to leave this time in the video to just kind of discuss something that's been on my mind. As you guys know, the Cloud City set was released. I did give my initial thoughts on it. I went pretty in depth on it, but I just kind of wanted to respond to a lot of the comments that I had been seeing on it. A lot of people seem to be complaining about it. They aren't too thrilled with it. They're saying that they are tired or annoyed by the fact that it's a playset, which I honestly find kind of surprising. And I don't know, that they're underwhelmed by it. It looks unfinished. It doesn't look like a good Lego set. And I just kind of wanted to give my thoughts on what, just, I don't know. I feel people are kind of judging this set unfairly. I think people need to understand that this is a Lego set that has a price and a finite amount of pieces. It obviously could have been more expensive, but then you have more people complaining about the price. Lego wanted to have it be a certain price, that meant it had to be a certain size, which I think is honestly fine. I mean, if you look at the set, like, it covers almost every single scene that we see in Cloud City, so I don't really understand, like, where the complaints come from there. And so far as the set not having like a roof or not having a cover or looking unfinished, I think I mentioned in the video that I did, the top 7 things Lego can do to make sure that Cloud City is going to be a classic set, that's honestly a waste of pieces. Number 1, Cloud City, I feel, once again, isn't an iconic enough looking kind of thing to justify putting all those pieces and resources into making it look like Cloud City from the outside. It would have raised the price of the set by at least another $100 if they attempted to do that, and I don't think it would have added much to the set. Number 2, a lot of people are saying that they are annoyed that it's a UCS, and it doesn't deserve to be a UCS, rather. Once again, this is not a UCS set. It's part of the Lego Master Builder series. As to what that might be, I still don't really know, but it is not a UCS set. Even if it was, I still don't understand why people are so upset and sensitive about Lego calling things UCS sets. I really don't think it matters. Like, why does it matter what a UCS set is? So long as the set is good, who cares what the heck we call it? I feel that any set that is large, maybe over like $200 to $250, could be considered a UCS set just because it's a bigger than normal Lego set. I don't know why it matters whether or not it's a play set or a display piece. The fact that it's a large Lego set should just automatically justify it being a UCS set. But even if you don't agree with that, once again, does it really matter what we call the set? Like, why does it matter if it's a UCS set? Like, I don't know. I feel a lot of people attribute the term UCS and give it a lot more meaning than it actually has. Like, guys, go back and look at some of the UCS sets we have gotten. The Darth Maul head was a UCS set. That small Naboo starfighter was a UCS set. Like, there are plenty of UCS sets that aren't great. Yeah, so, I don't know. That's my little mini rant. I don't understand why people are so sensitive and touchy about Lego calling things UCS sets. I don't really think it matters. In regards to Cloud City, I think it's a fine set. It comes with all the figures that we've been wanting for a very long time. As you guys know, the biggest disappointment for me was that Leia hairpiece, but outside of that, it's probably the Lego set with the best minifigure selection that we've ever had, which is very surprising, and I cannot wait to pick this set up day one. It'll be super fun to have all these figures, and even more fun to set up all the scenes and relive Cloud City in the Lego set. So that being said, that's going to finish up the video, guys. Like I said, if you want to see your questions answered in this series, just go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section. Make sure it's Lego Star Wars or Lego Star Wars related, and check back next week to see if you made the cut. Like I always say, guys, if you like what I do, go ahead, support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by hitting the subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.